Hey YouTube. So today I wanted to talk to you about one of the most iconic and most recognized models in the Toyota lineup, the Tacoma. This 2016 model that I have in front of me, or had in front of me back in December 2015, was the example given to me. This is a TRD double cab model in this beautiful Barcelona red metallic paint finish. For 2016, Toyota completely redid the Tacoma from the ground up, well, for the most part. Finally, it blends in with the lineup, because the previous generation has been around since 2005. The Tacoma pretty much hasn't changed for 10 years, and finally we get a change! This is all new sheet metal here. It looks a lot like the 2010 4Runner, or the Tundra from 2 years ago. Anyways, this new model is a huge welcome. Far more aggressive than last year, sharper and more chiseled. If anything, it has a little bit too much of a Tonka toy truck look to it. It isn't necessarily a bad thing, but that's just what everybody else is doing. Except to the Honda Ridgeline, which I don't know if you want to call a pickup. Sorry, Honda. Now, overall, the chassis is a carryover, but there were substantial upgrades to it, such as greater use of high-strength steel to make it more rigid and help drop weight. Suspension and the rest of the drivetrain has been updated, so when going behind the wheel, this won't feel like the same old truck like before. The workhorse 4-liter V6 from 2003 is gone, and we now have a 3.5-liter V6. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because this engine makes as much horsepower as the old 4-liter. This engine pumps out 278 horsepower at 6,000 RPM and 265 foot-pounds of torque at 4,600, so it's not much of a difference from the old 4-liter numbers, just that we have to rev the engine up a little higher to get all the torque out of it. It's now paired to a 6-speed automatic, as opposed to the older model which had a 5-speed automatic that dated back to 2003. It was a fantastic gearbox, but it won't look good for Toyota if the rest of the competition have 6 or more speeds. You can also fetch a 2.7-liter 4-cylinder that makes 159 horsepower. Now on the plus side, both engines can be had with a manual transmission. The 4-cylinder has to make do with a 5-speed manual, while the V6 can be had with a 6-speed manual. Now when properly equipped, the Tacoma can tow up to 6,800 pounds. Payload capacity is around 1,440 pounds. These are fairly decent numbers for a pickup of this size. Now the height of the bed has increased a little bit this year, great when carrying taller objects, but it also makes it more challenging if you plan on retrieving anything off the side of the bed. The bed is coated up with this fiber reinforced composite material. To the side is a 120 volt 400 watt power outlet, and there's also in-bed storage. There's another cubby off to the other side too. This Tacoma has the towing package, and it includes trailer sway control, which is a big deal. All the connections that you need are provided, and notice how they're located directly in the bumper itself. There are many models to choose from this year. There's the basic SR trim, which starts at $24,000 and change, the SR5, the TRD Sport, TRD Off-Road, sweet spot where you get a good balance of everything, the Limited, and the all-out TRD Pro. Now the interior, all new for this year. You won't see anything similar in here from the 2015, and the seats now have a higher seating position, so you no longer feel like you're sitting on the floor. As you can see, you have levers and dials and bars that you need to pull, twist, or hold up in order to make the seat move about to a desired position. On the door panel, we have soft touch materials, this padded nylon finish on the armrest that runs up along the door pocket. There's a cup holder that also serves as a water bottle holder, power mirrors, door locks, window lock, and of course power windows. Only the front windows have an auto up and down function. Push button start. With this all-new interior, there's more consistency. I see bits of the RAV4, Tundra, and Corolla in here. This is a more utilitarian-looking interior, and not everybody likes that. The seats are, for the most part, the same, but they are comfortable. They sit a little bit higher off the floor. This could be a challenge for some folks trying to get in here, as the ride height also increased. So if you happen to be on the short side and want a Tacoma, I recommend running boards or step bars of some sort, because you're definitely going to need them. Like its predecessor, the entire dashboard is plastic. Your hands will sound like sandpaper if you ever decide to rub it, like I am. Although this panel over here is coated up with this nylon fabric. The glove compartment, as you can see, the lid was damped. It won't bang on your knees. Average size, the owner's manual takes up the entire space, may be able to squeeze in some condoms and trail mix. The Tacoma is no longer neglected from the Entune infotainment system. This all-new interior allowed for the addition of the 7-inch touchscreen display. It's very crisp and vibrant, very responsive. As you can see, it's stutter-free as you swipe either direction. Entune is quite a self-explanatory system, so I won't be too thorough. Refer to my other Motorcars Toyota reviews if you want something more in-depth, but I want to show you the nav. Tap the map and it will go to full screen. Now as I drag around, it does have a slight stutter to it, but it's not bad. It does not support multi-touch gestures. As you can see me pinching away over here, it won't zoom out. You will have to touch the positive and negative signs if you desire zooming in or out. Now, one of the other great things about this beautiful screen is the backup camera. Crystal clear. Now, those guides do not move along with the wheel, unfortunately, but hey, it really does make parking a whole lot easier. The climate control is straightforward, it's just 3 dials. A dual-zone automatic climate control is available in other trims. 4-wheel drive button. Not a fan of how it's right beside the fan speed dial. Rear defogger, ECT button, basically just delays the shifts, milk out the power from the engine, and this is to power on the wireless charging pad, which is just down below. FYI, iPhone is not compatible. There's a USB port and aux jack hiding under here, and right beside a power outlet. The center console is loaded up with cubbies and cup holders. Finally loses that cheap, ugly shifter where the shift knob was just sitting on top of a stick and the shift gate was just an open cave for crumbs and crud, and it was a pain in the ass to clean before. It's all covered up with this boot. Elbows rejoice, the center console armrest is padded. There's a decent amount of space, nothing to go yay about, but it's something. The steering wheel is leather wrapped, quite thick, and it's got these side bolsters which help add a sporty feel to it. Here to the left, radio controls, volume, hands-free down below. Over to the right is a navigation keypad for the display and the speedometer. You can make it display almost anything you want. You can see all the different stats and etc. And the cruise control is right here where it's been for almost 30 years. Forgot to mention the steering wheel does tilt and telescope, just need to put some effort into it. Down here is the switch for the bed lights, whether if you want it to come on with the doors or just on. And this is the main switch for the power outlet out in the bed. The sun visors have a mirror and vanity light. Voila! So now you can squeeze zits even in the dark. Once pulled out, you can extend them if sunlight happens to be beaming from the side. Up in the overhead console is stability and traction control, and the diff lock button, multi-terrain select. Rotate the dial to select a terrain mode, whatever scenario you get involved in. And lastly, crawl mode, which essentially it helps control throttle and brake inputs. And here's the GoPro mount. Every 2016 and newer Tacoma comes standard with it, and Toyota's the first automaker to do this. Don't break the windshield, cause it's bye GoPro mount. The backseat is typical of pickups in this class. It's no better than last year's Tacoma. Qualities on the door panel carry over from up front. You still get a padded armrest, and the door pocket also serves as a cup holder. Flipping up the seat cushion also reveals a hidden storage space. Perfect for storing ammo or toys for pleasure, but do I recommend you keep things on the short side. The backrest tilts forward, which also uncovers a storage pocket right behind it. Legroom is just sufficient. I am 6'1", and my knees rub along the backrest. Overall, this is a decent space to be, although I wouldn't want to be in here for a long road trip. I really don't notice much of a difference. Just a different sounding engine, somewhat. Especially on these roads where it's just 25 miles an hour. Road manners feel the same, if not just a little bit tighter. They've tweaked the suspension and the steering and whatnot a tad. It's always been a well-mannered little pickup. The 4-liter and the 3.5-liter V6, there's not a huge difference between the two. It's more of an evolution. The 6-speed automatic does make a difference. The old 5-speed, the gearing was much taller, and it did not make the most use of the engine's power. Oh yeah, that sounds a whole lot better than the old engine. The 4-liter would be more raspy at the higher revs. Slippage. It's very quiet too. Oh, that sounds good. When you really open it up, that's where you really feel the power come in, as that little extra oomph the old 4-liter didn't have. Very nice update. Let me try the 4-wheel drive low. Oh yeah, that was the low range. Okay, we're back in two-wheel drive. You know, driving this pickup, I get the same feeling that I would get when I drive a Jeep Wrangler. Like that sense that you can go anywhere with it. The 4Runner also gives you that feeling. One thing to note, this newer Tacoma doesn't offer a lower ride height, so it's just one suspension height for everything, which I think is a bummer. Not everybody wants the higher ride height. You know, it's easier for some people to get into it. With this, it's just a few notches lower than the Tundra. The Tacoma no longer is a small pickup. This Tacoma, it doesn't feel that heavy, doesn't feel cumbersome. It's to an extent somewhat nimble. After driving this thing for the last 10-20 minutes, I mean, I'd be perfectly fine driving this every day. This is perfect for everyday use, and I feel very comfortable, and it's very civilized. But you have that capability on the side to take this thing anywhere. So, yeah, I've driven every Tacoma from like 98 to 2010. So it's a pretty cool feeling to experience how the Tacoma has evolved over the years. What these things were to what they are now, it's just such a huge difference. But the character these things had back in the day to now is still there. You know, just feels like this thing could go on forever and ever and ever. And they could just do anything. If you're a loyalist and you've been driving every generation, the Tacoma / Toyota pickups, there's a lot of familiarity. You know, you could just hop into each one of them and still feel the same. That same sense of confidence, it doesn't change. And this is something that Tacoma has forever had. So if you're in the market for a pickup in this class, check out what the other manufacturers have to offer. Drive them all, which really, there aren't that many of them, but I think you'll quickly realize that the Tacoma is the best of the bunch. If you happen to be in the Cleveland area and you're in the market for a brand new vehicle, come on down to Motorcars Toyota of Cleveland Heights, Ohio. This place has a huge selection of new and pre-owned vehicles. Purchase a new Toyota from Motorcars and it will come with a free lifetime powertrain warranty. So if the engine to your car decides to not be an engine anymore, they will knock sense back into it so it would perform like an engine again at no cost to you. And by the way, check out my Facebook fan page. I have a Twitter and Instagram account. Links to that are within my channel and in the video description below. So anyways, YouTube, thanks for watching again, and hope you enjoyed this review.